Welcome to my channel. Today, we will discuss on how life originated on Earth Part 2. We talked about some vital information regarding the origin of life from microbes to plant in last video. Today, we will discuss on more scientific facts and proofs regarding our origin. It is mind-boggling to imagine that something extremely complex like us once originated from chemical compounds with the ability to replicate themselves along with their specific information. Who put the information in them? How could a chemical compound such as CH4, for example, present in ancient times, decide to pass on its information after multiplying itself? Why did not everything turn into biological components? It seems like everything was a deliberately carried out plan. Somebody put consciousness inside the compounds and sat behind to see the consequences. Several species of organisms, from bacteria to whales, formed as time passed. This seems to be less plausible for some of us. Let's scrutinize the idea with more examples and research. Tony Z. Gia and their group researched sequencing the origin of life, which has helped us further understand how primitive informational and catalytic biopolymers emerged and evolved on the Earth. Gia et al., 2022. According to the research paper, modern life comprises biopolymers that confer specific functions required for a living biological system, like storing the genetic information and catalyzing chemical reactions within the component. According to RNA world theory, RNA is believed to have been an essential biopolymer on primitive Earth, or there could be a coexistence of other nucleic acids such as DNA, peptides, XNA, etc. Thus, the authors claim the technique nucleic acid sequencing is more advanced and helpful in understanding the origin of life on Earth. However, there is no conclusion whether nucleic acid-based or peptide-based life or the combination of both was the first life on Earth. Gia et al., 2022. But one thing we can be sure of is that a primitive chemical component decided to replicate at one point in time, leading the member into evolution. Another study done under the title Shock Processing of Amino Acids Leading to Complex Structures Implication to the Origin of Life by Surendra V. Singh and the team has shown that shock-processed amino acids tend to form complex agglomerate structures. Singh et al., 2020. According to the team, those structures are formed on a timescale of about 2 milliseconds due to impact-induced shock heating and subsequent cooling. They say, this discovery, the structures discussed above, suggests that the building blocks of life could have self-assembled not just on Earth but on other planetary bodies as a result of impact events. Our study also provides further experimental evidence for the threat observed in meteorites due to assemblages of biomolecules arising from impact-induced shocks. By understanding their claim and findings, we can assume that other planets or heavenly bodies may contain some sort of life since there is the presence of threads and amino acids that tend to form a complex agglomerate structure to form life. In 2013, a biophysicist named Jeremy England proposed a new theory that cast the origin of life as an outcome of thermodynamics. We know the second law of thermodynamics states that a system's entropy, disorder, increases as time progresses. England suggested that under particular conditions, the energy of atoms of the element may be lost or gained but is conserved in the system overall. In our natural world, particles are constantly losing energy. When atoms lose energy, they increase the entropy of the universe. England believes that the atom losing energy and increasing the entropy of the universe is not a chance process but a natural flow of our reality. This causes them to form complex structures, including living beings. Thus, in his opinion, life's existence is not a matter of luck, but rather it follows the principles of physics. He called it dissipative adaptation. He experimented through simulations, and the results backed up his equations. In this process, the chemicals realign themselves to gather the maximum amount of energy as they can from the surroundings by honing in on the resonant frequency, which allows for not only more breaking of chemical bonding but also for that energy extraction before dissipating the energy in the form of heat. Kelly L., 2019. Similarly, living beings consume food and provide energy to the cells. This also means we as living beings are forcing our surroundings as we take food in the form of energy from our system, the surrounding and we, increasing the entropy of the universe. Since the energy we consume here cannot be given to the surroundings back and thus the dissipation occurred here is irreversible. The process seems to be self-replicating, like our cells and continues to make the pattern that allows for maximum dissipation. Kelly L., 2019. Dissipation simply means the loss of energy. In the summary of this paragraph, we can conclude that entropy is inevitable and happening continuously. When we talk about time, the arrow of time points toward entropy, the disorder, past, present, and future. To go back to the past, we need to recreate the entropy in the specific time of the past. Otherwise, how come we reach the entropy that occurred in the past? Entropy may be pleasant or not, but there will be changes in the formation of the components. An old wrinkled seed turns into a lifeful plant after it absorbs the energy from the surrounding and soil. Technically speaking, the arrow of time here seems to be flown in the opposite direction, entropy to life. No matter how we see it, the world is constantly being disordered, and we all living and non-living beings are the outcome of entropy of some prehistoric chemical component that decided to absorb or release the energy into the surroundings to increase the entropy in the universe. Thus, everything, including us, is evolving, and flowing in the direction of the resultant entropy of all. Since we all are not science-loving creatures, some of us may love arts and philosophy. Some people prefer logic and discussions over experimentations and results. Then, we need to discuss the subject matter in depth but in a widely accepted but more straightforward way, philosophy. However, philosophy requires solid evidence, either logical or physical, to establish the claims. It, of course, studies reality and existence but follows its own approaches. It is a way of thinking about anything, such as time, the presence of life and its origin, ethics, politics, etc. Those who admire the wisdom and logically contemplate subject matters to come across the result or consensus after discussion can be considered philosophers. In ancient times, people had not discovered science and knowledge as much as we have today. Thus, their way of thinking and reaching for the truth was different. However, we cannot label them as primitive and belittle all their works and thoughts because they have impacted our modern way of thinking directly or indirectly. Moreover, their thoughts have always motivated us to seek the truth and strive to improve our lives. Numerous philosophers in the past from around the globe pioneered new ideas and changed human life forever. Who does not know about Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, Hippocrates, René Descartes, Voltaire, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Leo Tolstoy, and Confucius? There are countless names of philosophers from ancient Greece to the modern world who contributed to society on a different level. Philosophers such as Democritus, born in 460 BCE, almost 100 years before Aristotle, and the student of Leucippus are the early philosopher of atomism. They also suggested the idea of a vacuum, an empty space. Though they lacked a proper scientific method to reach a conclusion, their thoughts were profound and ahead of time. It seems like philosophers prefer mental experiments rather than lab-oriented. They must have an idea about life. Who does not contemplate over origin of life? But it is ridiculous to expect to get to study all the thoughts of all philosophers at once here. Aristotle came up with an interesting idea about the origin of life that ruled over the intellectual world and never got questioned for almost 2,000 years. His idea was popular as theory of spontaneous generation of life. This is all for today. In next video, I will come up with Aristotle's theory regarding the origin of lives. Do not forget to write down your thoughts in comment box, and if you are new here, subscribe to our channel for more videos.